So Anita, please, you're welcome to join us and start sharing your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm super excited to be here today and talk about also my path into the alternative protein industry. And as mentioned, my name is Anita Broellochs, and I'm the founder of Balletic Foods. And my journey really began really when I was really young. So I grew up on a farm in the south of Germany. And living on a farm, I got really a first hand, like a really front row seat to experience traditional agriculture, right? So my grandparents always had cows. And as I was little, they had scaled down their cow farm a little bit, but they always kept a couple of cows for the meat for themselves, right? And for our family. And when I was little, we had always 2 cows every year, and they were standing in our backyard from spring to fall. And in fall, it was always time to butcher these cows. And one year, I think I was like 6 years old, my parents actually took me to the slaughter of these cows. And I got really sad because over the summer, I got really attached to these cows, and I would pet them, and they had names. And to me, they were like a pet, right? They were no different than our dog or our cat. So I was really confused what was going on. And I didn't understand why people would want to eat these cows. And I immediately went to be vegetarian without even knowing what a vegetarian was at that point. So I was vegetarian since a very young age, and I eventually then switched to being fully vegan, and I've never gone back, and I'm very, so I've stuck with that decision. And I went on to, after high school, I went to study at the Friedrich Alexander University, which is also based in Germany. It's in Bavaria in the south of Germany. And I studied bioprocess engineering, which was super exciting. And here's actually a picture of me doing my first ever fermentation experiment in a class. So that was really when I got interested in like fermentation and biotechnology and bioprocess engineering. I then also did a thesis on optical clearing of skeletal muscle tissue for the purpose of multiphoton microscopy. And after I was done with my studies, I decided to move out to San Francisco. So I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area for a job in a startup. It wasn't anything in the cell ag space, but it was still a science-related startup, which was exciting. And it was in 2017 when I first read an article about the first ever lab-grown hamburger from Mark Post, right? That was produced in 2013. And I read about it in 2017. But when I first heard about it, I really was super excited because just a lot of things all of a sudden in my brain just started to click. And I thought, oh my God, this makes so much sense, right? Because everybody around me likes to eat meat, and I've been always the only vegetarian in my family. And I thought this could really be the solution, what we have all been waiting for, right? So people can keep eating their meat and the animals don't have to die for it. So I tried to learn everything I could about the field, and so I was reading a lot of things, and I found New Harvest and a couple of groups here and there that were working on cultured meat. But back in 2017, there wasn't like that much out there yet like there is today. And eventually, I met with a group of friends. We always would meet at the Google headquarters with a group of friends to just really brainstorm different ideas. And eventually, I brought up the idea of cultured meat to that group. And immediately everybody was super excited, and everybody in the room said, this is what we should do. We should do something with cultured meat, and we should really work on this. So we were thinking, what are the ways we can get involved? What should we do? And we then decided, let's create a cultured meat company. But then after looking into it a little bit, we realized, okay, it's actually a little bit of a more complex thing, and we didn't really know anybody in the space. So we thought, okay, maybe first we should get connected to others working on this awesome technology. So we were thinking, like, how can we approach people and how can we get into this space really? So that's when we had the idea to start a podcast. So we started a podcast called The Cultured Meat and Future Food Show, which actually last week had its 100th episode anniversary. So we have recorded over 100 episodes. So we slowly kind of like started reaching out to different people working on cultured meat technologies and just asked them if we can interview them. And to our surprise, like the community was just so open and everybody was so excited to get on the podcast and really talk about this. And that's when we realized, okay, that this is really an exciting topic. And then we looked into events. So we wanted to go to an event where we can meet other people too. But then we realized that there are really no events happening, like not even like meetup events, right, on the topic. And we're like, this is such a cool topic. Like, why are there no events where people can go to? So, and this was even way before the Good Food Institute announced their conference or anything, right? And the only event happening in the US was the New Harvest Conference, but that had moved to the East Coast. So in the San Francisco Bay Area, there was nothing happening. So we decided to host a couple happy hours where founders of really big cultured meat companies came, and we eventually also hosted a small panel that we thought, okay, maybe like 10, 15 people will show up, but then the room was just so crowded. I think there were over like 80 people that showed up to that event. And that's when we realized, okay, this is going to be really big, right? So then we really from there, we planned to have a bigger event in the fall of 2018, which we called the Cultured Meat Symposium. And so that's really when the Cultured Meat Symposium was born, and also the SVCMS group, how we call it. And SVCMS stands for Silicon Valley Cultured Meat Symposium. So SVCMS is really an organization to promote cellular agriculture and bring the community together. And one of our main goals when we did create SVCMS was also to help facilitate investment into this exciting field, because there is a lot of investment in the San Francisco Bay Area, but usually it's going into traditional tech companies. And we've thought like, really, we need to make a shift to really support this more. So that was one of our core missions. And so, yeah, our three kind of pillars of SVCMS are the Cultured Meat Symposium, which has happened for 4 years now in a row. So the last one took place in October last year in 2021. And then the podcast, as I mentioned, which is now over 100 episodes. And then the third pillar really of SVCMS is what we call global life science. And that is global, those are like global meetup groups. So we have divisions in Berlin and London and really all over the world, where we host like smaller meetup style events and hackathons. And now I just want to share a couple of these pictures because I thought it would be exciting. So this is the event that we hosted where we thought, okay, maybe a couple people will show up. This was our first panel that we hosted in San Francisco. And we have Liz Beck from the Good Food Institute here. And this was in early 2018. And then we have Vitor from Just. And then we have Ron Shigeta, who's an investor, and he has an accelerator, and then Robert Yeaman, who's now at Mission Barnes. So this was our first panel, and you can see all the people. There were a lot more people in the back too, so it was really a packed room, which was really exciting to see. And then this was our first, I think this was 2019, so this was CMS 2019, and this was the second year we were hosting CMS, and that was really big. And we doubled the number of attendees from 2018 to 2019, and then again in the next year. And this was from this year. We had the first ever actually cultured fish tasting. We had a tasting of wild type. So really, CMS has become an industry event. It's actually the largest event focused only on cultured meat in the space. And so this was exciting to have that in 2021, to have the first tasting ever. And this is our amazing team and all of the volunteers. There's quite a big group always working behind all of this to make it happen. But yeah. And then I just wanted to talk a couple more. So over the couple of years that I've been in the space, I have worked on a couple more really projects in the industry. One is Cell Ag Germany or Cell Ag Deutschland, which is a nonprofit organization promoting cellular agriculture in German-speaking countries. So Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And then also CHAOS, or the Cellular Agriculture Online Symposium, which is an open access online conference series, which is really focused on the science of cellular agriculture. And then another thing that I've been involved with over the last 2 years is the International Scientific Conference of Cultured Meat, which is hosted by the Maastricht University. And then one project that that we're about to just wrap up and finish is a children's book. So with 2 others, I've put together the first ever children's book on cellular agriculture that is called Where Do Hot Dogs Come From? And it kind of goes into, instead of like talking about how traditionally hot dogs are made with slaughter, it goes into a story how hot dogs will be made once cultured meat or cellular agriculture is a reality. And I'm really excited about this project because it is really inspired by my childhood experience of like these cows being in our backyard and then being slaughtered. So here in our story, the cow, of course, doesn't need to be slaughtered, which is really exciting. And now I want to talk about Balletic Foods a little bit. So as you've seen over the last couple of years, really, I've been busy really building community and really networking. I got connected to so many people in this space, and I was able to meet so many exciting people and hear about so many exciting projects. And now, since last year, I've been working on what is called Balletic Foods. And Balletic Foods is not a cultured meat company, but we're working on fermentation-derived meat protein-based products. And just to really touch on a little bit what actually the problem is that we're trying to solve. So one thing that we've realized is, one of the reasons why actually people want to keep eating meat and animal protein is because if you look at it from a nutritional value aspect, animal protein in many ways outperforms plant-based options actually. So animal protein offers really high nutritional value and it supports muscle growth, and plant-based options oftentimes cannot get even close to that. So really that's one of the main reasons why people want to have the animal protein. And of course, as we all know, there are a lot of problems with animal protein because they come in animal products, and animal products oftentimes contain a lot of other things than just the protein, right? That contain so it contains carcinogens, and it also, of course, it has environmental harm and damage, and there's health risks. So the way that you consume the animal protein is just, there's no good way to consume it. And also the way it's produced through traditional animal agriculture, it's just a really bad solution. So right now, there's really no method to consume high value animal protein without the negative side effects of animal agriculture. So what we're working on is really a new way to produce optimized proteins through fermentation. And so what we're doing is we're creating only the meat protein itself. So we're not trying, like cultured meat, trying to culture the actual animal cells, but we're using microorganisms to produce only the protein. And the result is a complete protein containing all essential amino acids. And the protein is identical to protein that is found in meat, and it's supporting optimal muscle growth. And the best part about it is that it's animal-free, it's sustainable, it's scalable, and it's ethical. Our goal is to really produce this on a very large scale. So what we're producing is an ingredient that can be used for many different food applications. And so our goal is to produce it at price parity on a large scale, a protein isolate that's very versatile. And 2 markets right now that we're focusing to launch the products first is the sports nutrition market. So we're developing products for athletes specifically, because we have identified athletes are a group of consumers that are really open for this technology and are really willing to try it. And then another one is actually older people, because as we age, there's a lot of muscle loss, and we really, for older people, need to really consume higher quality of protein to sustain their muscle mass. So those are two markets that we're going off first. And before I wrap up, I just wanted to share a couple of useful resources that really help me on my way to found Balletic Foods and on my journey. So for one, of course, New Harvest. New Harvest is a nonprofit organization promoting and funding cellular agriculture. And then also everything from the Good Food Institute. So if you are interested in starting a company or getting more involved, there's a community called GF Ideas. They have like a Slack channel, and it's really helpful community where if you can really ask any questions, and I think somebody will have the answer if you're looking for answers. And then there's a lot of webinars they organize, and they also have a lot of information sheets. So if you want to get involved, but you don't really know what problem to solve or what aspect you want to work on in this industry, they have a lot of like really great like white papers and stuff that they also highlight things that are still needed really to scale this technology. So if you are looking for ideas, I think the Good Food Institute really provides a lot of resources. And then what has helped me a lot is podcasts, to just listen to other people and really other people telling their stories and how they got involved and what they're working on. And then in terms of building the business, if you have not too much experience with entrepreneurship and really starting a startup, I can highly recommend Y Combinator, because they have a lot of really just interesting blog posts and videos that really kind of like lead you through this entire journey of starting a startup. And then there's a couple books that I can recommend that are that have been useful to me, but the most important is really, I think for my journey personally, was really networking, because I think the more you network, the more people you'll meet, and you will get introduced to people, and just new doors will open up, like if you meet new people, right? So, and one thing that I've noticed in this community is because everybody's working towards the same goal, like I feel like people don't really see each other as competitors much, but people are really welcoming and supporting each other. And so if you're thinking really of getting involved, I think you should definitely reach out to people and just don't hesitate to connect and ask questions. And with that, I want to thank our amazing team, of course, at Balletic Foods, but I also want to mention that we are currently hiring. So if you're interested in joining in a startup, you can check out our job openings on our website. It's just www.balleticfoods.com. And yeah, if you're interested, we would be excited to hear from you. Or you can reach out to me directly at anita@balleticfoods.com. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you for sharing us. Thank you for sharing your journey to us. It's been very interesting to hear about it. And yeah, congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far.